Your throat burns. Your head pounds. Your body aches so badly that even lying still feels like work. You know this feeling. You have felt it before. But imagine feeling it without a pharmacy 2 blocks away. Without a doctor you can call. Without antibiotics, painkillers, or even a thermometer to tell you how bad it actually is. For roughly 300,000 years, that was the only version of being sick that existed. And yet, here you are, the descendant of every single one of those people who survived. That is not a small thing. Because getting sick in the ancient world was not just uncomfortable. It could be a death sentence. And the strategies your ancestors used to fight back, some of them were desperate. Some were surprisingly clever. And some of them are still quietly shaping the way your body responds to illness right now. So what actually happened when ancient humans got sick? Start with the body itself. Your immune system did not wait for medicine to be invented. It has been evolving for millions of years. Long before Homo sapiens existed. When you get a fever today, that is not a malfunction. That is your body doing exactly what it evolved to do. Fever is a weapon. Your core temperature rises to create an environment hostile to bacterial and viral replication, while simultaneously accelerating the activity of your white blood cells. It is ancient biology running a program older than your species. This matters because your ancestors understood something about fever intuitively. Even without knowing the mechanism, they did not try to suppress it. They rested. They stayed warm. They stayed near the fire. In a very real sense. They cooperated with their own immune systems in ways that modern people, reaching for ibuprofen at the first sign of a temperature, sometimes do not. But fever was just the beginning. What happened when the illness was something worse? A deep wound, an infection, a broken bone, a difficult childbirth, the kind of sickness that rest alone could not fix? This is where the picture gets more complicated, and more impressive. Archaeologists have found skeletal evidence of ancient humans who survived injuries that should have killed them. A 2017 analysis published in the International Journal of Osteoarchaeology documented a Neanderthal individual from Shanidar Cave in northern Iraq who had lived for years, possibly decades, with a withered arm, partial blindness, and severe leg damage. This individual could not have hunted, could not have fully foraged, could not have survived alone. The skeleton is one of the most powerful pieces of evidence we have that early humans cared for their sick and injured in organized, deliberate ways. Think about what that means. Caring for someone who cannot contribute. In an environment where resources are scarce and every calorie counts, that is not instinct. That is culture. That is a decision. Somebody looked at that injured individual and chose to share food, to carry water, to stay near. Your ancestors were doing medicine long before they had a word for it. Now let us reconstruct what that medicine actually looked like. Because it was not nothing. It was not simply prayer and hope, though those played a role too. Archaeobotanical research, the study of plant remains found at ancient sites, has revealed that humans were using medicinal plants tens of thousands of years ago. At Shanidar Cave, pollen analysis by Ralph Seletsky in the 1960s suggested that Neanderthals may have been buried with flowers, some of which belong to species still used in folk medicine today, yarrow, groundsel, and ephedra. The interpretation has been debated, but more recent finds have pushed the evidence further. A 2019 study led by researchers at the University of Liverpool found dental calculus, ancient dental plaque, in a Neanderthal specimen from El Sidrón Cave in Spain that contained evidence of self-medication. The individual had consumed poplar, which contains salicylic acid, the active compound in aspirin. They also consumed penicillium mold, the same mold from which Alexander Fleming would eventually synthesize penicillin, roughly 40,000 years later. Let that land for a moment. Ancient humans were consuming a natural source of penicillin. Whether they understood why it helped is not the point. They had learned, through generations of trial and painful error, that it did. That is the engine underneath ancient medicine. Not mysticism, not luck. Empirical observation across generations. Your ancestor tried something. It helped or it did not. The knowledge was passed down, refined, corrected, Anthropologist Moerman Daniel documented hundreds of plant species used by indigenous North American cultures for medicinal purposes in his landmark catalog. And a remarkable proportion of them have since been validated by modern pharmacological analysis. The knowledge was real. It worked. Wounds were cleaned, often with substances we now understand had antimicrobial properties: honey, certain tree resins, urine in emergencies. Wounds were bound with plant fibers and leaves. Bones were splinted. Archaeological evidence from multiple sites across Europe and Africa shows healed fractures with alignment too clean to be coincidental. Someone set those bones. Someone held the patient still while it was done. So let us reconstruct a day in a hunter-gatherer band when one of its members falls ill. You wake in the morning and the person sleeping beside you is shaking. Skin hot to the touch. Breathing too fast. The group does not move camp today. That decision is made quickly and without debate. The sick person stays near the central fire. The band's most experienced elder, likely a woman. In most of the cultures anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied among the Jew, Honski San people of the Kalahari, assesses the situation. She has seen fevers before. Many of them. She knows which ones pass in 2 days and which ones do not. She prepares a brew, root bark steeped in hot water. The sick person drinks it. Sleeps. Others bring food, small amounts, soft, easy to digest. Children are kept at a slight distance. Not out of cold calculation but out of learned understanding that sickness can spread. The shaman or healer. In many ancient cultures these roles overlapped with the most knowledgeable elder, would also perform ritual. Chanting, rhythm, physical touch. We now know that ritual and social support have measurable effects on the immune response. The reduction of psychological stress lowers cortisol, which suppresses immune function. The presence of trusted others activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The body heals faster in safety than in fear. Ancient humans may not have understood the neurochemistry, but they practiced the outcome. Now here is the counterintuitive part. For most of human prehistory, the illnesses your ancestors faced were different from the ones that have killed the most people in recorded history. Smallpox, plague, cholera, influenza, these are diseases of density. They require large, concentrated human populations to spread and sustain themselves. Hunter-gatherers lived in bands of roughly 20 to 50 people, moving across large territories. Epidemic diseases, the mass killers of civilization, had nowhere to go. An illness that arrived in a small band either killed its host quickly or burned out just as fast, unable to find the next vector before the group dispersed. In a grim and ironic twist, it was agriculture, the supposed great leap forward, that changed this. Settled farming villages brought humans into close contact with domesticated animals. Cattle gave us measles and tuberculosis. Pigs and birds gave us influenza. Proximity to human waste contaminated water supplies and delivered cholera. Population density allowed diseases to spread faster than immune systems could adapt. Agriculture, the innovation that supposedly saved humanity, introduced the very conditions that would eventually kill hundreds of millions of us. The ancient hunter-gatherer, for all the risks of tooth and claw and weather, was in many ways far less likely to die from infectious disease than the medieval peasant farming wheat a mile from a pig pen. That knowledge changes how you see your own history. The suffering written into the last 10,000 years, the plagues, the pandemics, the waves of death, was not inevitable. It was, in a real sense, a consequence of a choice your ancestors made. A choice that brought abundance and civilization. Yes, but also disease on a scale the ancient world had never known. Your throat still burns, your head still pounds, but here, lying in your bed, you have access to things that took 300,000 years of accumulated human knowledge to produce. The painkiller on your nightstand is a refined version of compounds your ancestors were pulling from bark and roots before your species had a written language. The hospital down the street is the direct institutional descendant of the elder who sat beside the fire and watched a sick person breathe. Your body is doing exactly what it evolved to do, and the knowledge keeping you alive is older than civilization itself. Your throat burns, your head pounds, And you are the product of every single ancestor who survived this moment before you.